Hey guys, and welcome to another First Impressions video, the video game series in which we look at a recent release game and I give you my first thoughts and impressions on it. Today we're looking at Destroyer, the U-Boat Hunter, which is a very detailed tactical battle game. What I will say is that it is very Americanized in the styling and the telling of the history of the war and the U-Boat, how they came about and stuff. But overall, it's a very detailed, very in-depth game. As always, we'll look through the options first, and then we'll jump straight into the gameplay, and I will show you all the different things that you can do, and give you my very poor explanation on how they work and what they do. So let's not waste any more time. Let's jump straight into it. Alright, your options then. Not the best. Aesthetically, it's a little bit confusing. And honestly, they could add a lot more options here, especially to help with things like optimization, color blindness, etc. I get that a lot of the choices they've made is to try and make it as almost realistic as possible, but it doesn't really wash in today's sort of day and age with the technology available to make it easier for players to actually play. First off, it's very confusing because these look like arrows, but they're not, they're just borders. You actually click on the option here to see the drop-down menu for the options of resolution you've got. Same with the quality settings and the AA and the language. There are no other options to speak of, which is a bit of a shame. It would be nice if there was an FOV slider maybe. Just as one thing, and like I said before, color blindness mode. Sonar, when you're colorblind, is actually hell. There's no other word for it. It's very confusing for me to try and discern what I'm supposed to be looking at, and it would be nice if they had maybe a color blindness filter to change the look of the sonar, to change the color of it or whatever, just to make it a little bit easier to read. Outside of that, there's not really much else to say. The volume settings are all set to 50, which is good. I did have a weird sort of sound bug when I first played this, where the radio crackle didn't go away when it was supposed to. I had to actually close out the game and restart it. Luckily, it's not come back, but it is something worth bearing in mind. Let's jump into a battle and show you what it is you have to do and how it works. Okay, so when you decide to do a single battle, you are presented with this option. Now, it is worth noting that when the game comes out of early access, they are coming up with the campaign mode, which I'm actually very excited for. I feel like that will add a lot more depth to the game outside of just the gameplay being very deep and very convoluted and very complex. Not necessarily a bad thing, just worth noting in mind that they are coming out with that. Now, interestingly, you have a small battle, a medium battle, a large battle, and a custom battle. The custom battle looks like it could be really fun. I don't know if this is multiplayer. It doesn't seem like it. It doesn't really give much credence to the fact that it's multiplayer. It could be. You could have U-boats versus the destroyers, but it looks like this is just destroyer only. Underneath that, you get the time of play. Now, this is really interesting. So this is your average sort of time of play depending on how good or not you are and how big the battle is. So you're looking at 1 hour, 3 hours, or 5 hours. This is not going to be a dip in, dip out game. This is going to be a game that you are going to be sat here and you are going to give a large amount of time to. And I'm not sure how good that is or not. Like I said, there's a lot to take in, but I do feel like with these sorts of playtimes, you're going to either absolutely adore it or you're going to hate every second of it because it's going to be a fairly slow-paced game. This is essentially taking something like World of Warships, taking out all of the simplicity and showing you what the battle could be like if you went full on with sonar and stuff, as opposed to something like World of Warships, which is a PvP based game and matches are limited to 20 minutes at a time and are usually over within the first 10. So, that being in mind, let's look at the bridge and all the features that the ship has and how it works, and I will try and explain what I've learned from the tutorial But it was a lot, so I might be just as bad at explaining as you would expect, because I'm not a naval officer, and this expects you to be a naval officer. Let's jump into it. All right, here we are. This is the bridge. You can do pretty much anything you want from the bridge. You will get a lot of this. You will get a lot of radio chatter. It will tell you pretty much everything that is going on, and it will give you a way of tracking the U-boats in order to take them out. It's important, but I can see how it can be a little bit overwhelming, especially because during the tutorial, this chatter is constantly going on and talking over the tutorial when there is talking bits. And the other thing you've got to worry about is the tutorial is very text-based as well. So you get big messages up here that you've got to read whilst being bombarded with this information. I kind of feel like the tutorial would have been better if they had done like a line to show an example of what it was saying and then muted it. Or had this muted completely and just had it showing it or highlighted to show you what you were supposed to be looking at. It makes it very hard to learn for a tutorial when you are literally being constantly bombarded with information. But what does that information tell you? You have about 6 different ways you can steer the ship. Which is fair, it's very similar to an actual ship, but you have these things here, which are your degrees of turning the rudder left or right. You can also grab this and turn it as well. You've got this indication up here. You've got this little sort of like moving compass, which shows you and your target bearing. Although, interestingly, if the target disappears, this doesn't stop. So I don't know whether that keeps an eye on it or not. You've got your speed here, so you can come to a full stop. You can go backwards. You can go forwards. You can go full, flank, full, standing speed, which will take you to 25 knots, 2/3, and 1/3. And again, every time you change something, you get radio chatter. It confirms it. It speaks it in the correct term. It is very, very similar to an actual gunship, which is kind of cool. I'm not going to lie. However, if you don't know what you're doing, it's going to get very, very overwhelming very, very quickly. You have some quick tabs here, so you can ready your depth charges and send them out straight away. You can enter in a full new course if you wanted to. So this is another way to steer. You can just type in, I don't know, 187, and that will take you to the new bearing. You've got your speed down here, so instead of using this, you can just use this as well. Exactly the same. It just shows you a different way. And that's your bridge. You can look around it as well. You've got all your different people here showing you. But that's how you steer the thing. And it's very cool, very detailed. But honestly, it's not the best thing to be looking at. I get that it's realism, but maybe they could have made the portholes a little bit bigger or had something happening in them, just to give you a bit more excitement almost outside of just sort of watching, right? What else can you do? You can go to this screen here, which is your sonar, and this is very, very again realistic to how the ship would have worked in 1941, 1942. So you've got your sonar here, which is pinging. You've got this here, which will show you if you hit something with the sonar, and you can move the area that you want to do. You can also change the arc width. So wherever you move is where it's going to sort of scan. And you can make it go to just a straight full half, and you can cover up and scan. And again, everything you change, you are going to get feedback. What would have been nice is if these buttons here and these buttons here were clickable, just to give you, whether they did anything or not, just to give you a bit more immersion would have been really, really nice. Then you've got your combat. This will show you your sonar. You've got DRT, DSC projector, contacts, and tactical. And these are, you can switch on to manual or leave on auto. If you leave them on auto, it will do it all for you. And trust me, as a beginner, you're going to want to do that, because I still have no idea how any of this works. And again, this is really highlighting the colorblind problem. because I don't know what I'm looking at, where I'm supposed to be looking or whatever. You can actually move this anywhere across the table, which is kind of cool. Wherever you move it, you will see that you will lose or gain the image of the ship and the things that you're changing and the convoy and stuff. Your DSC projector shows you the relative position of your ship. You can lay markers down. But again, not entirely sure how many markers and what these markers do. You've got your contacts, so you can see the radar contact. It will give you the course, which is obviously relative to the compass, the time that it found it, speed, and all the good stuff, your range and everything. So you can keep an eye on it, and the more contacts you get, the more things will take up here, and then you can select which one to focus on. And then you've got tactical. There really is a lot to this game, and this will show you your current position, your bearing, your convoy, other ships that you've got, which can do radar scans and stuff, and your enemies, right? You can see your enemies here. You also get limited time for an airstrike as well, and that will all show on here, and you can give them points to go to, so you can send them in different places. You've then got your gun directors, so you can fire different weapons, and as you can see, this will show you which direction they're moving in. You can zoom. You can't zoom in from this position. Sorry, I did tell a lie. But you can aim up, and you've got your different things. So you've got camera zoom here, but you can't use your mouse wheel, which is a bit of a shame. You've got your radar aim, so you can see if you can find anything with radar. You've got a searchlight for at night. You've got your different ammo here. So you got your sort of your armor-piercing heavy explosive and your flares, and then you can fire out. So when you choose to fire, it will fire them, and you could hit the U-boat, do some damage, or at least keep them lit up so that other boats and your air support can find them easier and kill them. And then you got your lookouts, so you can get a good view of everything else that's going on and everything that's going on. And then your external view, which is just a much wider sort of aspect of it, and you can see how fast or not fast that you're moving and everything else in between. Graphically speaking, on this view, it's rather pretty. I'm not going to lie. It's very pretty, but at the same time, doesn't feel as detailed in the graphics as, say, maybe World of Warships or War Thunder. And again, that's because a lot of the gameplay is going to be done from this screen here. So it makes sense why they haven't really worked as hard or not worked as hard, but put as much effort into the graphics of the exterior of the ship as they have the interior. So that's a big rundown of everything that this ship does, right? And all the things you can do and how it works and how you use it to find and then fire and attack the opposition. It's a lot. It requires a hell of a lot of concentration, which obviously I haven't been giving to this because I've been talking to you guys. You've got a lot of different things that you can control and a lot of different things that you can work and the way that it works and stuff like that. You can switch a lot of it also, which is good, so you can just focus on finding the thing and firing, which is what I'm probably going to be doing if I ever play this. Or you can go as in-depth as you like and do each sonar bit individually and look for different things. So with the sonar, you've got your TRR as well, so you can move it and keep an eye on it and watch for the bearing, and then when it goes below the dotted line, you know that you're in a good range to start firing at stuff and things. Very, very in-depth game. Very well made. I feel that the options need a little bit more optimizing. And again, just something more going on out here would be nice to give you a bit more of a visual in-depth feel. But overall, if you're looking for an in-depth, very detailed tactical game that's based heavily on wartime, you're going to really enjoy this. It's a very good game. I'm just no good at it. Far too stupid for it. Thank you very much for watching, guys. Let me know in those comments down below what you think, and I will see you all next time. Ciao, ciao.